Start from Afghanistan, where heavy fighting is underway between the Afghan security forces and the Taliban in the northern province of Kunduz, Sar-i-Pul and Jowzjan. The Taliban claim to have captured the capital of Sar-i-Pul. Details in this report. Afghans question the government's security strategy as the Taliban continue to make advances. The group says they have seized weapons and ammunition belonging to the military in the city of Sar-i-Pul after capturing it. The Taliban claim to have conquered the National Security Prosecutor's office in Kunduz, where 11 people have died so far. Earlier, the group killed an Air Force pilot and injured 5 others in twin bomb blasts. Hamidullah Azimi was the 8th Afghan pilot to be killed in recent weeks. Meanwhile, the Taliban accused the United States B-52 bombers of killing 3 doctors in a raid at a hospital in the Lashkargah district. In a statement, the group condemned what it called barbaric bombings on civilians. It said the US is violating human rights and international norms. Okay, now we are joined by Arshad Yusfuzai, a political analyst from Peshawar. Yusfuzai, thank you very much for your time. Now, tell us, the Taliban are now making inroads into city centres, which were seen as the fortresses of the Afghan national forces. Tell us, how significant are these developments symbolically and strategically, and what would they mean for the people of Afghanistan?
Well, as we have seen earlier this morning, the Taliban have claimed that 2 provinces, not cities but provinces, Kunduz and Sar-i-Pul, have fallen to them, and they are on the way to Kunduz airport now. Their fighters are going there and they will be able to capture it soon, because we have been hearing about reports that government soldiers are just putting up weapons. They're just laying down their weapons and surrendering. This is now the 4th major city in the past 48 hours that has fallen to Taliban, starting with Zaranj in Nimroz, that is connecting Iran with Afghanistan. And it was one of the most important border crossings for Afghanistan because all the fuel supply from Iran is through Zaranj, and then secondly through Heratan. So effectively the Taliban have now cut off Afghan government or the Kabul government from any road line connections with Iran, and it means that the fuel supply from Iran is stopped now. Secondly, these are now cities that the Taliban are capturing. They have captured Zaranj, they have captured Shabarghan yesterday. That was one of the strongest places for them because of Dostum's militia. They have captured 2 provinces this morning, and they are pushing for fighting. The fighting is going on in Helmand and Herat and Kandahar. Now, the Taliban claim, we still have to verify this, but they claim that in their cities, where they are now in power, the people are happy and they are cheering, they are welcoming them, and the Taliban have restored peace, which they believe or they claim was missing because the forces were corrupt and they were really ineffective in controlling the situation in the cities they were there. So I believe that the Taliban are still following the policy of cutting off the Afghan government from all border crossings with other countries. Afghanistan is now only relying on Torkham with Pakistan and Heratan up in the north with Uzbekistan. That is also, large fuel depots are there. And I've been hearing reports from the Taliban sources that the Taliban want to negotiate peace there, because they do not want any harm to the fuel supplies or the fuel depots there. And in case of fighting, it is quite possible that either the Taliban or the soldiers that are fighting there could put these fuel resources to fire.
Right, Arshad, this is definitely a major blow to the Kabul government. Now, tell us, with the Taliban accusing the United States of killing civilians and hitting a hospital, are we back to square one of the Afghan conflict?
I believe so, yes, because previously in 2001, there were the Taliban had no system or mechanism to verify their claims, but now they are so effectively using this social media. They are using mobile phones with videos from all these places where the US is bombarding cities. Like earlier this morning, they shared videos on their WhatsApp groups claiming that the U.S. bombardment last night had hit a hospital and a school. The Taliban claims are verified with their people on ground sharing videos and also talking to people in the localities. I believe the U.S. is repeating the same mistake, and it's not just them this time, it's also the Afghan Air Force. It's like a blind bombardment on cities, on civilians, schools, and especially targeting hospitals now.
Well, that is big. Also now, Arshad, tell us, with the recent developments, do you see the United States is increasing its military role in the war-torn country once again?
I believe they learned their lessons and they're not going to come back to the ground. But, they can effectively use their weaponry, that is the Air Force, to bombard the Taliban strongholds like they've been doing and occasionally getting successes, mostly killing civilians. But the United States is now staying away from Afghanistan, knowing that they cannot defeat the Taliban. But, their role cannot be diminished. They will still remain there, knowing that they cannot be harmed any further. They are relatively easy, in an easy place to continue their role in Afghanistan. But the Taliban are not happy with their role on ground as well. That is the diplomatic role the U.S. Embassy in Kabul is playing, accusing the Taliban of things that they have or have not committed without verifying facts. So the U.S. involvement is still there. They are still supporting the Afghan government as they said they would. The Taliban, on the other hand, they cannot fight the U.S. any longer because there's no presence on ground. But they are thinking of other ways of dealing with that. That could be like diplomatic ties in the future, or issues that can create for the U.S. Aid agencies or people or agencies connected to the United States.
Right. Arshad, also tell us, what do you believe is the biggest roadblock for the peace process and a political settlement in Afghanistan?
Well, obviously, it is the fact that everybody is ignoring Pakistan. It's just like, if you compare it, it's just like back to 2001 in Bonn conference, that a conference is held and the major stakeholder, that is the Afghan Taliban, were not even invited there. And the Taliban have been telling everybody that this was their mistake. Many people in the West have accepted this mistake. Now the powers that they are ignoring Pakistan in the peace process. Although they accuse Pakistan of having control over the Taliban, which we believe has diminished over the past years. But it is still important that Pakistan can play a major role in this peace process. And ignoring Pakistan's role is just foolish act, because how can you bring peace in Afghanistan when you claim or you accuse Pakistan of pushing people towards the war, of providing manpower to the Taliban, and then at the same time you do not invite them? You cannot punish Pakistan for trying to play a positive role in peace in Afghanistan. And you cannot certainly force anybody to come to your terms without giving them their due respect or their due credit for all the effort that they had been doing in the past. I believe involving Pakistan is important, and once Pakistan is there, serious efforts are put in by Pakistan, that is when we can see any progress in the peace process.
Well, certainly me, you, and the entire world hopes for peace in Afghanistan. Arshad Yusfuzai, political analyst, joining us from Peshawar, Pakistan. Thank you very much for talking to Indus News.